Hey, how's y'all doing, everybody? This is your host, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. I want to first and foremost say what's good to my fam, my day ones, my subscribers, new and old. Welcome to a Black Minds News live report. Passerbys, you happen to pass by due to the thumbnail, we thank you for coming over here to listen to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. Always got a grand opening, go down the aisle, happen to see something make you feel some kind of way. Remember, the motto of my show is, the truth don't need no partner. Well, I know I had originally did this show earlier today, and somehow what ended up happening was that seemed that my mic was cut off. Can you believe that? I was sitting here doing the show and realized that after I went back and looked that I noticed that there was no mic sound. Can you believe that? That I did a whole 54 minutes of a show. Basically, somebody who was sitting out there said, where was I at? And I was sitting there saying, well, what do you mean? I've been here the whole time. But obviously, I didn't have no sound on, right? So I'm going to do a repeat show of the show that if you did catch, this is that show to be redone. And, you know, this has been in the news. It was something that came up last night as I was searching for things to come up. And this is what came up. But before I go there, let's set the tone, right? Well, let me do this first. Let's go ahead again. You get to see this is the thumbnail, right? And the thumbnail, as you see the AG. That is Daniel Cameron. And standing before a judge, and you see that there's a person to the right of him is an individual. If you don't know who that is, you will learn. And you see the mural of Breonna Taylor and a mother, right? And so this is what this whole situation has been about. And that it seems like a new turn of events has taken place where it looks like the jurors are questioning or to have something to revealed, and they're petitioning. It says juror, but there's a possibility there could be more than just one. So let me show you this. And this will be the premise of what we started. So let me show what came up today. It says Kentucky AG says he will comply with judge order to release grand jury transcript. Let me say that again. Kentucky AG says he will comply with judge order to release grand jury's transcript. Now, this is the information that came out last night. Came somewhere about 9, 10, 11 o'clock last night. And for a lot of people, it's like, wow, this is something you would have never thought of all things of scenarios for this to manifest. But today's show, I'm going to show you that I believe that some of the reason why this has happened is because things have been falling out, right? And so we have to look at these things, put it in its proper perspective, and you look at it for how you need to see it for yourself. So the story says that the Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron has refused to release grand jury transcripts related to Breonna Taylor case, despite growing public calls to do so by the Louisville mayor. The Kentucky governor and Taylor's family attorneys. But that all changed late Monday evening when Cameron announced he would comply with a judge ruling order a recording of the grand jury's presentation be added to the court's case file. His about face also comes hour after an unidentified grand jury requested that any and all recordings, transcripts, and reports of the grand juries relating to the case be released to the public. A move a former Kentucky prosecutor calls totally surprising and tremendously uncommon. Cameron had previously said he wouldn't disclose the grand jury's presentation because it would interfere with other investigations. He reiterated that position Monday, saying he stands by our belief that such a release could compromise the ongoing federal investigation and could have unintended consequences such as poisoning the jury pool. Goes on and says, in addition to the release of recordings and transcripts, the juror, according to court document obtained by CNN, is also asking the court to make a binding declaration that the grand juror has the right to disclose information and details about the process and details of the proceedings, particularly the motion states. To avoid fears that Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron would attempt to use the court's power of contempt in case of a public disclosure. It is the fear of the petitioner that Attorney General Cameron would attempt to utilize the court contempt powers if there were a public disclosure that contradicts certain things that he stated happened during the proceedings. Characterize the singularity of the decision in a different light, or raise doubts about charges that were presented during the proceedings, the motion states. In the court filing, the juror referenced Cameron's public statement maintaining that grand jury proceedings are secret, and that Cameron attempted to make very clear that the grand jury alone made the decision alone on who and what to charge, and that the only exception to the responsibilities he foisted upon the grand jury was in his statement that they agreed with his team's investigation that Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in their actions. The juror, who writes in the court filing that they wish to remain anonymous, noted the compelling public interest for these proceedings to be released, particularly because of an exhibited distrust of legal process by public citizens. The citizens of the Commonwealth had demonstrated their lack of faith in the process and proceedings in this matter, and the justice system itself, using the grand juror as a shield to deflect. Accountability and responsibility for these decisions only sows more seeds of doubt in the process, while leaving a cold chill down the spines of the future grand jurors, the motion said. Furthermore, the jurors argued that Cameron has subjected them to a level of accountability that is unreasonable, and that the legal system has put the grand jurors on an island where they are left to wonder if anyone who finds them will treat them well or hold the pain and anger of the lingering questions against them. It is patiently unjust for the jurors to be subjected to the level of accountability the Attorney General campaigned for simply because they receive a summons to serve their community at a time that adherence to the summons forced them to be involved in a matter that has caused such a palpable divide between sides, the motion states. The juror maintained that they are not seeking any monetary damages, only the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, the court document reads. Okay, so that was written according to what you see on your screen about the Kentucky AG say he will comply with judge order to release grand jury transcript. So let's go back to when he said this in an interview that I had caught that he said. And let's listen to the words that he stated here, and we'll be right back. Check this out.
But Cameron, who has repeatedly said that he wants to be seen as an impartial figure in this case, never let his answers get too personal or emotional.
What will ultimately make the decision for us are the facts.
Attorney General Daniel Cameron says it's his duty to not let the protesters at his home affect the Breonna Taylor investigation.
Again, understand the passion and understand people want answers. We want to provide the answers, but we have to do it in a way that respects this process. I recognize the importance of being the first African-American Attorney General, the first African-American to be independently elected. And so this case in particular, because of the individuals involved, Ms. Taylor in particular, I recognize the importance of making sure that we get this right. That is my duty and responsibility as the Attorney General. As a black man, I certainly have that responsibility as well.
Did you have with law enforcement as a black man growing up in America?
I haven't had any bad experiences with law enforcement, but what I've said repeatedly is that shouldn't detract from others that have had bad experiences with law enforcement. That shouldn't detract from people that have had bad experiences in life outside of law enforcement. Black folks that have had issues and challenges, I don't discredit those in any way because of the experiences.
But Cameron, who has repeatedly said that he wants to be seen as an impartial figure in this case, never let his answers get too personal or emotional.
What will ultimately make the decision for us are the facts.
All right, we are back, right? So, as that report was talking about, the Louisville mayor is also part of the growing calls for revealing about in the this filing by the grand jurors. Seems like he's turned his attention towards that as well. And that we see that now that Cameron has did about face as to now he wants to comply. Well, as you heard in that video right there, he said the fact that he wants to be seen as impartial. Now, it seems like the only people who have to say they have to be impartial seem like, okay, we as BADOS, right? Black American descendant of slavery. And then there's others who are, we are as the African descendants, and then we come from different geographical locations. But we who be here in, that's improper English, but I said it, we who be here in the United States, right? Seems like we always have to make this distinction when we are in positions of what would appear as power. That we have to make it clear that we will not be biased because they're black, I'm black, so I got to make sure that I make the announcement that I must be seen as impartial, that the job that I'm doing is on the profession of, as he said, truth and facts, right? And so the little sleight of hand is the fact that you hear them say the fact in that video we're talking about, well, he doesn't want to do this. He don't want to make this personal, and he doesn't want to make this out of emotion. Those seem to be like subliminal code words that you always use upon black Americans, right? We make things personal because of our history in this country. And we always deem emotional, like emotion is one of the worst things you can have. That's the way people act, like having emotions is the worst thing. Now, I understand that people have emotions and they're out of control, but the human element of having emotions is a feeling when somebody's doing something wrong to you. And based on the condition that black Americans have been in this country, to say and use that as some kind of human defect that we have because of emotion is because maybe your history isn't as detriment to you as a group like our history has been. So the thing is, how do you make a distinct between something personal and emotional if you are tied to the people? The only way you can say that is as maybe there's something that we're not knowing that you may not be tied to us. Now, again, they say everything of my skin is my kin, but when we start getting and talking like that, people think we're divisive. No, this is a way that somebody can do work for somebody and don't have any real ties to you. We have seen people put in positions. We see somebody who's actually running right now in this presidential campaign as a vice president, who originally came out and wanted to say that they were of, and then somehow because of the pushback and people wanted to self-identify who you are, that, well, you still you decide to back off and say that, but then you still start doing the little things, wearing boots or talking about hip hop, right? Those type of things. So it's like we have people who be in positions that may not be cut from the same cloth as we say. And so if you get somebody who's not cut from the same cloth as you, maybe they can be convinced we're not saying that somebody's not supposed to be professional and do their job. We're just saying be fair, according to the word that you taught us, fair. So he says that to make that distinguishing statement is because he wants to make it clear to those who would be observing that he would do it strictly adherent to the law. But we never asked the other side, right? Remember when Barack Obama was president, he had to say he couldn't be the president for black people. He had to be the president for all people. But do we ever hear that on the other side of the table? They don't have to say that, right? But things get done. But we have to always seem to make some distinguishing statements to make sure everybody is comfortable that we're not going to come out on a bag because we're in a position and we're going to use it we can't do that, right? It's kind of like that individual that went and arrested that woman that wouldn't put the mask on at the baseball game with the kids, right? And you see how that was going, right? And we don't find out as time go on, can you be in that position and use the same law on other people and they somehow don't boomerang back on you? Well, that's kind of like what happened with that police officer with that woman that got killed that he was supposed to helping his partner. But stay tuned for that. So anyway, he said he wanted to what? He wanted to make sure that the people get an answer. Was this ever about an answer? I mean, like I said before on the prior show, an answer doesn't necessarily mean that is what, again, as the ones who are petitioned to get this out, the truth, nothing but the truth. An answer could be anything. You could tell it still would be an answer. Is that what the people are seeking in this case? Now, we understand that there has been a judgment on the wrongful death and that's been paid out. We get that part, but then somehow it got turned where it's like now the case that is going to be presented forward has nothing to do with her. Has nothing to do with her. And so we see that a juror has decided to come out and make what would be historic, I guess. I don't know if in history has this ever done, according to what I've looked, I haven't seen. But the point is the grand jury is meant to be a secretive body. So normally we only get to hear what supposedly been presented, presumably what he has put forward, and we are relayed back to the information what we think, but we don't really know. And so based on it looks like because of this public interest that is going on and the fact that it has been fever pitched in the way that things have been falling out, and I think that has been the catalyst for this, right? Because lately, let's look at this. I believe the reason why this is starting is because of this. We got to look at this, and I'm going to show you this right quick. The recent videos that have fell out, right? When we were told that there were no videos, right? There was no videos. And then we heard, or I didn't do, but the word was, and if you had been following, is that Mattingly was now going to sue the family for defamation for saying that he was a murderer, right? And then somehow a video fell out to show that he actually had been shot in the whole process. Now, those who didn't see that, let me show you this and we'll be right back. Check this out. Put him in the car.
I'm going to grab his legs. Put him in the trunk. Put him in the trunk. Put him on the trunk. They're just lifting. Grab under his arms. 1, 2, 3. Cover him. Let's go. Cover me. I'm with him. Stay down, John. Stay down. Mike, get out of the way. Stay down, John. Go. You can go a little faster. Go. That's good speed right there. Hey! Open these windows. Put him in the car. Here, I'm going to grab his legs. Put him in the trunk. Put him in the trunk. Put him on the trunk. They're just lifting. Grab under his arms. 1, 2, 3. Cover him. Let's go. Cover me, I'm with you. Stay down, John. Stay down. Mike, get out of the way. Stay down, John.
Go.
You can go a little faster, go a little faster.
Go.
That's good speed right there. I can keep up. Hey! Open these windows.
All right, we are black, right? So that was the first video that had fell out, right? Where you see that Jonathan Mattingly, who was in the video, who had been shot, seeing that they were getting him, positioning him, put him in the vehicle to take him, because obviously, according to what I read, the EMTs couldn't get there or seemed to have been lost about how to get there. So they put him in the back of the trunk and they were going to drive him there. But according to that video, what you seen there was that's what took place. So there was actually a video of what transpired. That according when we heard the press conference, for those who are avid watchers over here of Black Minds News, we presented the entirety of the press conference. I played the press conference of what his statements, and then the following day I did with the reporters. Okay? And so in that video came out. And then we heard about, okay, you want to sue the family. And somehow that came out. So but I guess, give validity that actually had happened. Okay. But the question that started to fall out was, well, why did a video come out when they said there was no video? Right? Why would a video come out? Right? So that means where there's smoke, there has to be fire. So if you have that piece, then there had to be more to it, right? So that was just that part. And so I'm pretty sure people who were looking were like, okay, well, why did that come out? And then the very next day, another one came out. Well, let me show you what that was and be right back.
That's not one of ours.
What's this address?
Is anybody here dead?
Wow, we're waiting. Ken's calling it. What's the address here?
Hey, 3003 Springfield Apartment.
That's not one of ours.
What's this address?
Is anybody here dead?
Wow, we're waiting. Ken's calling it. What's the address here?
Hey, 3003 Springfield Apartment.
That's not one of ours.
What's this address?
Is anybody here dead?
Wow, we're waiting. Ken's calling it. What's the address here?
Hey, 3003.
All right, we back, right? So there was a second one that came out, right? And that one seems to have from a position that somebody's asking. I hear somebody say, is somebody in there dead, right? What's the address and so forth? Okay, so that was entirely different than what we've seen according to the original one when we seen Jonathan Manley, who was being ushered to be taken care of his gunshot wound, right? And then we have another piece that's showing that there. So again, okay, who was the original one by him and who is this one here? So that says there has to be somebody has some kind of devices that is capturing, right? So with that, this is all coming after what had been with the grand jury, right? This all stuff came out after. So, but the statement that had been made was the fact that nothing existed. Okay. So we see that a grand juror is decided that they want to stay anonymous and file this complaint, and that they want the court to make a binding declaration and give the right to disclose this information. and about the process that was during this procedure, which they want to say, based on what we heard, like many of us who heard the press conference, what was said and those who were of the proceedings say what he stated and what they were presented with didn't match, right? Or kept saying grand jury, grand jury, grand jury, grand jury. And they was like, well, wait a minute, hold on. You're putting all this on us. We only were able to do, according to one, I think, remember it was kind of stating that, well, we are citizens who are summoned as a duty as a citizen, and we come here and you present this, and what you presented to us, we did according to what you gave, according to the rules and regulations of how we're supposed to, adhere to this and so forth. And based on what you gave us, we adjudicated on that. But there must be some disagreements between the juror and what the AG has presented. So what they want to do now is to take some of the, I guess, the feelings that they're, just imagine that you were the one sitting in the proceeding and what has been presented is not totally the truth. And so somebody has decided to take it in their own hands and say, well, we're going to try to use the process to try to let it be known so that it's not all secretive, even though that's what the whole grand jury is about. But they say, no, that's not what we want to do here. So as the process, the judge had came out and said, well, this is not how this works. But there must be some kind of provisions in there somehow that they're trying to do it. And so now the AG is saying, well, okay, if they want to do it, let them do it. Okay. But I think those two videos being leaked out, if that's leaked or intentionally put out, it's got to be the catalyst for this. And then, let me show you this. Put that one up there for me, sir. And put that one up there. I don't know if y'all seen this or not, but it was another report that had came out, right? And it talked about the ballistic report doesn't support Kentucky AG's claim that Breonna Taylor's boyfriend shot cop. Let me say that again. Ballistic report doesn't support Kentucky's AG claims that Breonna Taylor boyfriend shot cops. That's strange, right? That the report did not substantiate, but we all kind of remember when they were talking about Kenneth Walker and how they originally was charging him with attempt murder on a cop, and then somehow that got dropped and he had been exonerated, right? But was this the reason for that? Or was this after the fact, right? So we had to say, was this after the fact or did they know this prior to? But the reports had came back and it said this. Now, I don't know if any of y'all even heard of that or not, but let me go ahead and let me put this for you. Okay, so this is what it said about this ballistic report. Now it says the Kentucky State Police ballistic report does not support the State Attorney General Cameron's assertion that Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, shot a police officer the night she was killed. Cameron said Wednesday the investigation of Taylor's death, March 13, ruled out friendly fire from Officer Brett Hankinson as the source of the shot that went through Sergeant Jonathan Manning's thigh, prompting him and Officer Miles Cosgrove to return fire, killing Taylor. The KSP report says that due to limited markings of comparative value, the 9mm bullet that hit and exited Manning's was neither identified nor eliminated as having been fired from Walker's gun. Cameron said Hankinson had been eliminated as the shooter because the three officers carried .40 caliber handguns while Walker had a 9. Now keep that point in mind, right? Remember the KSP report said due to limited markings of the comparative value, the 9mm bullet that hit and exited Manning was neither identified nor eliminated as having been fired from Walker's gun. Then it says that Cameron said that Hankinson had been eliminated as the shooter. Okay? Why did he make this statement, said that he had been eliminated? Keep this in mind, because he stated, now this is according to what the article has said, that he stated that the 3 officers carried .40 caliber handguns, while Walker presumably is the only one who had the 9mm. Now watch this. Then it was Wednesday night on CNN. Stephen Romnez, one of Walker's attorneys, said he obtained a Louisville Metro Police Department record showing Hankinson had been issued a 9mm weapon as well. Let me say that again. Wednesday night on CNN, Stephen Romnez, one of Walker's attorneys, said he obtained a Louisville Metro Police Department record showing Hankinson had been issued a 9mm weapon as well. Okay. A very troubling question Kentucky Attorney General isn't answering. Romney's claimed to share the record from Hankinson's personal file with the Louisville Courier-Journal, and LMPD spokesman Jesse Halliday says she could release it only in response to an open request or record request. The Courier-Journal, part of the USA Today network, filed one, but the department hasn't responded. Attorney General for Walker, Rob Egert, provided the ballistic report, which was first reported by Vice. Walker said he fired a single warning from his Glock handgun at Taylor's apartment because he thought intruders were breaking in. Police said they had identified themselves. They were attempting to serve a no-knock search warrant shortly before 1 a.m. March 13th at Taylor's home as part of a narcotics investigation. Cameron announced Mallory and Cosgrove were not charged with any crime because they had the right to defend themselves. Hankinson, who was fired in June, was charged with 3 counts of wantonly endangering Taylor's neighbors by firing shots that entered their apartment. He was not charged with endangering Taylor. Cameron declined to explain that discrepancy or respond to 13 other questions about the case submitted by the Courier-Journal. His spokeswoman said Saturday that the office was not scheduling interviews and could talk about the grand jury's proceeding because of secrecy rules governing him. Cameron said last week that Mallory fired 6 shots, Cosgrove 16, Hankinson 10, and Taylor was hit with 6 times. Said the FBI ballistic examiners conclude Cosgrove fired the shot that killed Taylor. Let's say that again. He said the FBI ballistic examiners concluded Cosgrove fired the shot that killed Taylor, but KSP couldn't determine whether Cosgrove or Mallory fired that bullet. The shot hit Taylor's pulmonary artery, killing her within minutes. Okay? So, the part there is the fact that there was substantiated that according to one of Kenneth Walker's attorney, that the department had issued a 9mm. So one of the officers there that night, and the one who they're specifying, had a 9mm. So let me show you Kenneth Walker's gun. Let's see if I got his gun here. I think we got his gun. No. There you go. Okay. There's Kenneth Walker's gun. Okay. But as you heard, they said they could not identify the markings of his, which probably his bullets, because if he fired one, I'm pretty sure he had more in the chamber or in this clip. And when they took it, they didn't match. But something had not been disclosed, which you just heard in that report. Now, I got to remember, these grand jurors are now, after they done already made their determination, they're seeing the same things that the public is seeing, right? And so they know what was presented to them, right? And so, is that for question? Is that just to be overlooked? But I know a lot of people had took the fact that they wanted to hear drug dealer. They wanted to say, oh, did somebody fire the shot at somebody, right? But everything that you stood on is about what you heard. It's not what you knew. And so they always say, if you make an assumption, you make an ass out of you and me, right? You know the old saying they say, right? But then there was something else that came out that you may have not known, right? Let me show y'all this. They said this, man. I don't know if you want to see this or not, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. Look at this. So then a report came out saying this. Ex-LMPD chief initially told by commanders that Breonna Taylor fired rifle at officers. Let me say that again. Ex-LMPD chief initially told by commanders that Breonna Taylor fired rifle at officers. Did y'all hear that? Did you know that even existed? Never heard that, huh? Unless you follow and you might have known, right? So let me tell you what they said according to this article. Should we take a break and come back? Take a break and come back. Just for those who just kept in here sitting on your hands. At least give Brother Lisa a like. All right, we back. So, it says in the hours after Louisville police officers shot and killed Breonna Taylor, then Chief Steve Conrad testified he was told by two of his commanders that Taylor had fired at officers as they raided her home, and she was on the floor in a prone position holding a rifle. And she was the one directing the fire, at them. Conrad said in an interview with the Department Public Integrity Unit on March 18th, 5 days after the shooting. He was also told that a man in the department at one point said the woman was in fact the shooter. Let me say that again. He was also told that a man in the apartment at one point said the woman was in fact the shooter. The interview, conducted by Sergeant Amanda Seeley and Sergeant Jason Vance, showed that Conrad was given wrong information immediately after the shooting and raised questions about his scrutiny of the events at Taylor's apartment. Neither Seeley nor Vance asked Conrad to explain the discrepancy during the 21-minute interview, including whether he followed up with the officers in the intervening days. Nor was the ex-chief asked what he knew about the shooting at the time of the interview. The investigative unit handled officer shooting and probed possibly criminal actions by police. The testimony is the first detailed description of what the former chief was told about the raid in the hours after it occurred. WDRB News obtained a transcript of it Saturday. Numerous court documents, interviews, and other records since made public confirmed that there was no rifle found at the scene. I'm going to say that again. Numerous court documents, interviews, and other records since made public confirmed that there was no rifle found at the scene, and Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, fired one shot with a handgun at police. Taylor did not fire a weapon. In addition, while Conrad was at the hospital to see Sergeant Jonathan Mallory, who had been shot during the raid, he said he saw Detective Brett Hankerson walking around, what the chief acknowledged was unusual because someone from the Public Integrity Unit is usually tasked with keeping up with the officers involved. It's just contrary from what I've seen in previous officers involved shooting. I mean, my experience is that they are brought to the public integrity by members of this unit. Conrad also said he believed Hankerson took his dog home before coming to the hospital. Conrad said he heard Hankerson was fearful he would lose his job and told him, "Man, I hope you're okay," he said in this interview. "You know, we worked through this." He said Hankerson was visibly shaken, not kind of scared, not scared, but that the kind of nervous sort of energy that you have after something traumatic, happens. It was Hankerson, Conrad said, who told him a man had shot at police, which was contradictory of what I had heard from two commanding officers, Lieutenant Colonel Josh Judah and Lieutenant Les Skaggs. I wrote that down later because that 100% contradictory of what I had heard from Judah and what I had heard from Skaggs. He said, I was concerned at this point about this conflicting information. Judah said, was at the scene while giving information to Conrad. Conrad also said, however, that he understands misinformation can be passed along inadvertently in immediate aftermath of a chaotic situation. Chief told the PIU investigator that he didn't ask Hankerson any question because I didn't end up wanting to have to do this. It is unclear if Conrad means he didn't want to have to testify about what Hankerson might have told him. Mayor Greg Fisher fired Conrad in June after learning that police officers did not record body camera footage of the fatal shooting of David McAtees, a black man in the West Louisville during protests over Taylor's death. Kenneth Walker was dating Taylor, and okay, it goes on like that, right? So that's what you may not have heard, right? You may not have heard that, right? Let me show you something too here. We got that? Yeah, go ahead. Do the new one. Do the new one. Yeah, do the new ones. Yeah, the new ones. Okay. Show that one. Okay, so those are the crime scene videos that were put to the public. And I went and gathered them and put them together. And I put them in a slide, right? So, as you see, they're showing what they're showing. The crime scene. Again, you're seeing all the bullet markings for the position they were in. You got the front door, you got the patio door, and you're going to have the bedroom, right? So they were pretty much surrounded, right? And in this article, you did hear them state the fact that they originally said that Breonna fired at them with a rifle, and then they all kind of said that Kenneth Walker agreed to that, right? But then it became misinformation, right? Now, what I want to show you is that, let me show you something. It's in the slide here, but it's going to take a while for it to get there. But as I come back, I'll just let you see what's in there. But let me show you what they were talking about when they said that Breonna had a gun, right? And let me show you this. It's in with the slides you're seeing, but it's going to take a while to get there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fast forward it to this. Do you see the circle there in the picture? What do you see? Can you see it? Can you see it? Give you a little time so you can see that. Put your eyes on it, right? Looks like a gun, right? Let me give you a close-up. That is a gun, is it not? But why would it be in the corner? Right? But that's what that story said, that they said that she fired. So is that Breonna Taylor's gun? Where'd that gun come from? Right? Really, they said that according to the article. Then they say, oh no, that was false information. It never existed. There was no, remember it said there was no gun on the premise. Where does gun come from? Where did the gun come from? Just imaginary popped in there, right? So with all this stuff that's coming out there, And those who being on the jury, I'm pretty sure they probably say, wait a minute. We look like we might be the fall guy for some stuff that might be out here that may not be true. Right? There's a lot of misinformation and things that are stated that just wasn't true. And then it was this. I want you to hear this. Right? And then this came out. All right. Check this out. Be right back.
One big question surrounding this case is whether or not the officers knocked and announced their presence. Talk about the evidence that you came to that they did announce their presence.
Yes, the statements that were made by officers there the night or the morning of March 13th show that they did knock and announce. The important point here is that information was corroborated by another witness who was in close proximity to apartment 4, who corroborated that information and said that there was a knocking and announcing by the officer.
I saw the uniform on there, so I know. And when I looked through the window, I saw it was a lot of police cars, and I saw the armor car was parking on the left hand side. I'm throwing it to get inside.
Well,
so when I went through the window, I saw the
I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. Is this before the shooting or after the shooting?
It was before the shooting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear anyone identify themselves as police?
No, nobody identified themselves.
Did you ever hear anyone identify themselves as police?
No, nobody identified themselves.
Did you ever hear anyone identify themselves as police?
No, nobody identified themselves.
Did you ever hear anyone identify themselves as police?
No, nobody identified themselves.
Did you ever hear anyone identify themselves as police?
No, nobody identified themselves.
Did you ever hear anyone identify themselves as police?
No, nobody identified themselves.
Did you ever hear anyone identify themselves as police?
No, nobody identified themselves.
Did you ever hear anyone identify themselves as police?
No.
Yes, sir.
One big question surrounding this case is whether or not the officers knocked and announced their presence. Talk about the evidence that you came to that they did announce their presence.
Yes, the statements that were made.
So we are back. I cut myself short on that one, but it's all right. So they were talking about that this other article had came out, and it stated the fact that the witness had changed his story, right? I say the sole witness, right? It says sole witness who heard cops announce themselves in Breonna Taylor's raid changed his story. He changed his story. So the Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron made the bombshell announcement that the cops who fatally shot Breonna Taylor would not be charged with killing her, calling their use of force in March raid justified to protect themselves. In that justification, he said that one witness collaborated. The 3 officers insisted that they knocked and identified themselves at Taylor's Louisville home while executing a search warrant in connection with narcotic investigation. It contradicted claim from Taylor's boyfriend, Kenny Walker, and 11 other residents who said they didn't hear the cop announce themselves. Instead, Walker thought he was being burglarized and fired a warning shot that triggered a tragic chain of events. Said, but according to documents and audio obtained by Vice News on Saturday, the sole witness initially told investigators days after the March 13th raid that he didn't actually hear Officer Brett Hankerson, John Madley, and Miles Cosgrove announce themselves. The witness, identified by Vice as Aaron Sarpy, but by other outlets and public records as Aaron Julie Sarpy was picking up his daughter from a unit above Taylor's when the raid took place. It wasn't until he was interviewed a second time about 2 months after the raid by a sergeant in the LMPD's Public Integrity Unit that Sarpy said he heard police say, "This is the cops." Sarpy flip-flopped the latest twist in the case that has made Taylor an icon in the Black Lives Matter movement, calls into question the strength of Cameron's case and the grand jury report, which state officials are demanding to be made public. I never had faith in Daniel Cameron to begin with. I knew he was too inexperienced with a job of this caliber. I knew he'd choose to be on the wrong side of this, Tamika Palmer, Taylor's mother, said in a Friday statement. My hope was that he knew he had the power to do the right thing, that he had the power to start the healing of the city, that he had the power to help men over 400 years of oppression. What he helped me realize is that it will always be against us and them, that we are never safe. And there's more to that, but nothing else needs to be said because you heard what he said, right? You heard his own voice say that, right? So there's a lot of questions to a lot of stuff that has been stated by, what's been supposedly presented. And then to have the jurors come out and say that they want to now make stuff public. And I think a lot of this had to do with the videos that had been released. I think if the videos didn't come out, I think it would just been the secrecy of what had took place and there would have been no known of it. But, they say the truth don't need no partner. So what's in the dark will come to the light. And so I guess Wednesday will be the day whether they release or if it is released, what will be released. And, there's also another individual that he has put some information that seemed to be very damaging about a lot of people. And only time will be with that. But there's some stuff that's out there that somebody who said they got real pertinent information who's inside, and it's just like this case it seemed to have been over with, but it seems not to be over with. It seems like it's just about to get revealed if it gets to that point. But some of the stuff that you done heard so far right now, is there any speculation in your mind that everything may not have been what we think it was? Does it go back to the night of March 13th to try to figure out, did Kenneth Walker initiate the whole shooting? Because if you go back and remember in that video when they were picking up Jonathan Mattingly, remember you hearing them say, cover us. Like, wait a minute. If there was only one shot, why is everybody in this panic mode of shooting when he did one shot? And based on, maybe I have to show, let me show, go back and show that, yeah. Based on, what the slides were showing, put that up there. Where's that? Yeah, put that, the new one. And put the new one up there. All right, put that up there. Because when you see these, the pictures once again, I'm going to let it all go through. And you get to see the crime scenes and just look at okay, if all this is supposedly taken inside, right? And as you see the casing markings all outside, if he shot from inside, how, based on what these markings is, you got people in nowhere close by who seem to be just, shooting. Not nowhere in the vicinity near to even the person who you say shooting. Some of them ain't even seeing anybody. There's no way you could be seeing anybody from where they're showing these markings. Now just, kind of pay attention. Now they show that hat there. They got one little bullet there on the mat, right? If you go back and listen to the interview that Madeline said, I thought you would at least see some blood here, but no, I see the one little bullet just sitting there, right? And the markers are showing. I mean, look at that. You know, how you got all these clippings outside the door? Think about that. Look at the door. And if Mattingly was in there, ain't no way y'all could be doing all this shooting without, you know, I mean, somebody else should have been getting shot up too, right? Like, I mean, look at all these, you know, these rounds, these casings. We see the battle ram of the door. You can see that. Okay, that's what that is. But look at this on the position. Look at them outside the rail. You got clippings from out there. I mean, you got casings from out there. So they shoot from outside the window. You can't even see. Can you see anybody? And look at them. Look at it. I mean, could you see anybody from in there? So once they heard the one shot, they all just, you know, it was Armageddon. Right? To the fact that they all shooting and there's only one shot. And even when Mattingly, and again, if you've been over here and you heard the interview, I played the interview that he gave his testimony about. He said when he got hit, then remember he let up his boom, 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 boom. Let up 2 more. But then he realized he felt the blood, knew he had been shot, and he scoots himself out of there. Scoots himself all the way out to the parking lot. Trips over somebody who's laying on the ground trying to figure out, well, where the hell you on the damn ground, right? So it's just like people were just letting off. Ain't seeing anything but just, you know, I mean, look at what you're seeing. So obviously the blinds was up, but they got shot down. So that means you couldn't see in there, right? But somebody just firing. So to say that one individual was just nilly-willy firing, it wasn't just him. It couldn't have been just him. This angle that you see there is coming from the patio, shooting the wall, right? From the patio outside, the bullets coming straight across. Who y'all shooting at? Who you looking at that you shooting? Right? Who you shooting at? See, you get to see that. That's the, you know, I got 1, 2, 3 on the wall there, and the chair's getting hit. Who you shooting at? Just firing, right? People just firing a gun. So there was a lot of recklessness there, other than just the fact that you're saying one officer. If that's what you want to say, who else is shooting? Because you even have, like, in the bedroom, you know, they got bullet casings in the bedroom. So there were people shooting through the bedroom window back there too. It's a miracle that Kenneth Walker is walking about. Think about that. He shot one fire. Or fired one shot. And it was just a barrage of just shooting. Somehow, I don't know what position, I don't know was, you know, how that was. Even I heard some people try to say that he even used Breonna as a shield. Huh? I heard some people say that, like, did you see that? People will concoct all kind of stuff to try to justify other than the fact that just go get what's out there and look at it. Make your determination on based on what you see, not what you assume. Now, again, I know people want to protect people, right? But how can it be a tie? How can Breonna's life be charged to the game? How can her life be charged to the game? But if you and I was in that situation, we're going to go through that process. We ain't going to be like, well, okay, he was able to defend his life and they were able to defend their life. And the person that you said that you want to jeopardize the case is because he's wanting shooting at neighbors, but nothing to do with the person who's laying in this apartment dead. And we are not supposed to say anything. We're supposed to be okay. Because again, it may not just be the fact that, okay, that's their situation, that's personal for them, but we as black people who deal with these kind of situations more than the average people or other people's, that means that's liable to happen to any of us. And because it doesn't happen here, then people would try to use similarities and then be like, oh, it was just like the last one. Maybe there was something wrong with this one. And then that stuff now is starting to fall out. There's some questions here. And some people who said things that they said originally, you're going to have to go back and maybe, you know, revisit that. and say, hey, maybe I was wrong. Right? I understand people want to say, you guys want to make, the profession to be, but again, if we're the most incarcerated, they write more tickets, we go to jail and court more than anybody. Why wouldn't we know more about these situations than the average person? It's always when lying about things like that's everybody's kickstand. You guys lie. It's like saying, for instance, when you was growing up and going to school, you ever had a teacher that lied on you? You ever had a teacher lie on you? Have you ever had a police lie on you that you said you didn't do it, but you got the ticket anyway? Do people in position of power lie? That's the question. Everybody lies or have lied. What makes anybody else to be immune because they with the system? Everybody, it's like family. You get good ones and bad ones everywhere. But to try to make something that happened and then just put up the fact that everybody said, well, he shot the cops. And then I heard people, well, you don't shoot cops. Wait a minute. I'm in my damn bed sleep. I'm in the damn bed sleep. You kick in my damn door. Everything go. You can't substantiate the fact that I heard you. If that's what you want to say. And then the sole person that you're using out of all the people who said no, even you got a recording saying he's saying, no, I didn't hear. Right? Now you hear he's like, no, I didn't hear. But guess what? Some people are going to still take that stance regardless. They don't care. Because either the hatred or the fragility of mind that, we have been taking all these things that seem to like we're always, well, wait a minute. Maybe it's just the inheritance that sometimes, you inherit things, right? Like you can inherit, like say your parents have an insurance policy and they should die and then you inherit the money. But what about the karma, or what about all the negativity things that have been established by them that now comes to fruition to light? Maybe you are to be the holder of that. So what you want to do is you want to take that off and then try to reverse it and put it back on the other people. And then you feel comfortable about it. But then it's again, the truth don't have no partner. Once the truth rise from the grave to show what it is, now what you gonna say? What you gonna say now? So I guess Wednesday, tomorrow I guess, whether they're gonna do that or not, but I don't pretty much think they're gonna find a way not to do that because it is what it is, right? Some people are satisfied with what they heard. They don't want to really know what it is. And so you leave it in the hands of black media to try to piece some of the pieces that's been out there. There's going to be people who be angry. Oh, why? This is what's out there. This is public information. This ain't nothing like I just concocted and I can just put this together. And just, no, I didn't do that. This is what we did not see. This is what we did not know. These are the reports that had been written. I'm just a messenger, right? So, that finally came to her with the gun there. But that being said, right, I had seen this too. I had seen this interview and it's like, okay, now I want you to remember what you said here, Miss Lady. Y'all don't know who I'm talking about? Let me show you who this is right quick before I get up out of here. Check this out. I'll be right back.
America can make its second escape from the Democrat plantation. She joins us tonight. Candace, thanks so much for coming on. So you saw the Attorney General of Kentucky, and I think I'd be honest enough to say this even if I disagreed with him, certainly made a rational case for his position and a pretty traditionally American case, rioting is not justice. And then you see him attacked as a race traitor. What do you make of that?
For me, it's absolutely infuriating to watch, and you are correct in saying that I've been on the receiving ends of the same sorts of attacks. And here's what's so fundamentally wrong and backwards about it, is that if you actually look at what they're saying and what the deeper implications are here, it's that there is a right way, a correct way, and a wrong way to be black, meaning that you could look at me, Tucker, and say Candace Owens is black, and therefore I can assign a bunch of characteristics and expectations upon to her based on her skin color. Ironically, Tucker, that's the very definition of racism. And it's coming from the liberals who like to say that they see racism everywhere, but they can't recognize it when it's coming out of their own mouths. I've often said the Democrat Party has built almost a prototype of what it means to be a black American. That prototype means a black American must vote Democrat. You must react emotionally and not rationally and not pause to think. We must be faithful and abide by cultural icons, meaning we must worship the words and the advice of King LeBron James, as he's called, and Queen Beyonce. Queen Beyonce being the person, I will remind your listeners and viewers, who actually wrote a letter to hurry up the Attorney General in his investigation and said that she wanted her kind of justice delivered in the Breonna Taylor case. He did the right thing by ignoring her. He did the right thing by ignoring the various pressures coming from culture and the mainstream media. And for that, you're seeing him being socially lynched and stripped of his identity because he acted professionally and rationally. You know, this guy should be commended by both sides, and instead he's being attacked racially by the left.
It's beyond belief in how patronizing it is, but it's also an attack on the most basic freedom of all, which is the right of every American to think for himself. That's my view. I disagree. I mean, that's the most American thing you can say, but they don't recognize that right.
They don't. And what I get especially frustrated with, Tucker, is this kind of a thought process. It only exists. It's only placed upon black Americans. You can't imagine a scenario where Joe Biden would say, if you don't vote for me, you ain't white. Right? It doesn't even sound right. Suddenly you're like, what are you talking about? You have to come to us with ideas and get us to see your perspective. But when it's black Americans, they view it as proprietary. There is something proprietary about black skin to Democrats, and they get super angry at people that think independently, like myself, like the Attorney General, and like various other black Americans who are waking up to this delusions.
It just strikes me, kind of off topic, but this is a country in which Joy Ann Reid of Harvard has a TV show and you don't. And that seems wrong to me. Candace Owens.
All right, we are black, right? You know, it's funny how, again, I did a show the other day talking about the doppelgangers. Any of y'all was here to see that? Doppelgangers. Remember the movie with Get Out, right? And my analogy was the doppelgangers that you have people, we as BADOS, black American descendants of slaves or slavery, right? We are the lineage of that which, again, they call in history slaves and who built the country and all, right? We are the descendants of that. And it seems that people who are doppelgangers, gangers, right? Who look like BADOS, appear to be BADOS, and will use terms that try to identify themselves as, but lineage-wise they don't be. Now, again, I'm not here to be divisive, but what I'm trying to say is, what gives somebody the right to try to demonize, black people in a way that somehow that your ideology is right? You mean to say that we as BADOS, when we are collectively on one thought, one mind, and one spirit, that somehow if you side with the people who are in opposition to them, and that you're speaking your point, that you're right because you're with them. And then you didn't even hear what he said. He said, even if I disagree with him. So that's saying, Tucker's saying he didn't agree with what he did either. He didn't agree, but you went on a tangent, right? You went right, you just roll with it, huh? Dog ready to get off the leash, right? He said rationale case for his position. It's a rationale case. Okay, he did for the position of what the profession of what he do. That's what they do. The way he laid it out, okay, that's rationale. That's what he says, right? Tucker said, right? And said that he is a race, that black folks have got on him as a race traitor, right? A race traitor. And she went right in, right? She herself says she can relate to the fact of attacked as a race traitor. Well, see, again, if you're not cut from the cloth, I think y'all try to take people say we're black. Now, again, I'm not here to question your blackness or you as a black person or African descent person. But in this country here, it seems like everybody come from everywhere else and try to redefine us, tell us from their position, but you don't know what it is to be us. This is not, again, my analogy will always be the mannequin. Go down wherever downtown you live and go down where they got all the mannequins with the clothes and you walking by, you see something look nice, right? You see it and you look at it and you wonder how it look if you put it on. Now, even when you buy it and put it on, you still don't look as good as the mannequin do, unless, you could be, but just depending. But let's say you don't look as good. So you try to mimic it. That's why I said doppelganger, right? And so you try to cloak in yourself to be like these people who you're not. And you take because so-called I'm educated makes that somehow because you read about politics. And that don't make you have the essence, spirit, and embodiment of what it is to be a BADOS. You don't. You are, if I'm not mistaken, I read the article what your grandfather said, the Caribbean International. I then read some other things about Caribbean. So it's like, wait a minute. How you get to keep talking about us? Going to people making, this is how you butter in your bread. Because you get to say things about us like you became the Negro whisperer, the Black American whisperer. It's like, wait, who? It's like they always throwing somebody in this as some our leader and all that. Like the Indians say, we didn't vote for that. We didn't vote for that. But you put yourself in that position and then you get on they. Ain't we? You said they. Your language even lets us know you're not cut from the cloth, right? And so you said race traitor. Again, as I did the show the other day to break down what they say an African American is. Now we know, according to what they stated, that majority of people who come from other places, geographical locations, especially when you talk about on the continent of Africa, not all of them, most of them will self-identify from the location they come. Those in the Americas coming from, like they say, the Caribbean island stuff, they the ones who try to, graft themselves on as being African Americans, knowing damn well you're not an African American. Now, some people might be just, confused with it. Go look it up. You'll see. Pertaining to those who come up out of the United States, from the South, from connection of history, which we talking about, the centers of slavery. So when you start talking like somehow you, again, the Negro whisperer, how old is you? You first generation? What do you know really about us other than your existence? What do you know about us? And if we deem you a race traitor, let me tell you something that even the white man know about black Americans in this country. When we get together and say something, you can bet your money on it that's true. Right? That's why they're trying to keep us from not being knowing stuff. Because when we start getting involved and we look at it and when we make that assessment, you can bet your money on it. Am I right or am I wrong? We don't be wrong collectively. We don't be wrong. When we see it that you thought we didn't see it. So if we done deem you and you said, well, they deeming him as a race traitor, so they do me the same way, but maybe you on the wrong side of something. Maybe on the wrong side of something. But somehow you can't determine, and I guess your validation coming from the oppositional side, and so that makes you still feel like somehow you're speaking, and as long as they stamp approve you, you're okay with it. It's not what we say, not we being the people, it's about you and what they agree to. Crazy, man. So you are infuriated to watch What did you watch? Was this what you watched? Check this out. I'll be right back.
He mentioned at the press conference, which I thought was quite interesting, that he's a black man. And as I laid and cried and hurt for Tamika Palmer and for Breonna Taylor and for Kenny Walker and for Janiyah, who we need to love up on, as I laid there and I thought about him saying he's a black man, I thought about the ships that went into Fort Monroe and Jamestown with our people on them over 400 years ago. And how there were also black men on those ships that were responsible for bringing our people over here. Daniel Cameron is no different than the sellout Negroes that sold our people into slavery.
She said it.
And helped white men to capture our people, to abuse them and to traffic them while our women were raped, while our men were raped by savages. That is who you are, Daniel Cameron. You are a coward. You are a sellout, and you were used by the system to harm your own mama, your own black mama. We have no respect for you. No respect for your black skin. Because all of our skin folk ain't our kinfolk, and you do not belong to black people at all. We learned that on the same exact day that this announcement came out, it was the day that in September of, I forget the year, 1955, 1955, which was 65 years ago, Emmett Till was also killed again, denied justice, because the two white officers responsible for, responsible for killing him were let free. That happened on the same day. Now, I don't know if it's just that Daniel Cameron is stupid, or that he is very, very, very clear about history and made a decision to wait 6 months and come forward with this announcement, this garbage that we received on the exact same day that Emmett Till's family received the same result. And the Historical Society. And the
You better talk. You better talk. You better talk.
But I want you to understand how wicked he is.
That's right.
How wicked he is. And how wicked this system is.
All right, that was Tamika Mallory, right? See, Lady Soul 502 says, check out the link. There's yet another twist in this Breonna attorney Sam Aguilar. He sold out. There's a brother who was working on the case with Bree's lawyers, and they had enough evidence, but Sam Aguilar failed to turn evidence. Yeah, I actually heard the recording of that, and there's some other stuff that's out there as well. And the fact that Mr. Spencer said that the witness had to lie or they would have killed him. All facts, right? We understand it's the system, right? And regardless, when you want to do right, it ain't about right with other people. See, because of how we've been in history, we're looking for justice. We're looking for right. We're not in a righteous system, right? So their system is always to be against when we're trying to fight it for justice. It's, again, as we always had the term saying just us, right? It's never been about justice. It's been about just us. And there's always another book that you pull out in the back that's separate from what they're doing. So when you're talking about Mr. Spencer 620, yeah, of course, right? But the thing is, we do have what we hear, but we just know the fact that when you think about how our families, when we have to go through these processes, and then you think about qualified immunity, and then how the way it's structured, that you have to have a case that proceeded before you that's somewhat similar to you to actually to take that away from them. So have you noticed that every time these situations happen, they do the civil suit first, pay out, and then you don't get the criminal, right? So that means that they don't want to actually establish these cases so that when these situations happen, you got cases on the books. You get what I'm saying? So it's not about truth. We can know the truth, but that system ain't really for us. So my point about Candace Owens is the fact that she want to sit here and be a Negro whisperer and talking to them, acting as if like what she said. She talked about some, she had been receiving the same kind of attacks. But look at the position you keep taking. Again, you ain't cut like we cut. We are the descendants of which built this country. We are the bloodline. We are the descendants of that. And then here's somebody who might be African descent, or if we want to say black in that term, but only in this country, black means us, black Americans. Everybody else got a hyphenation. Where'd you come from? Trinidadian American, Jamaican American. Why everybody want to come over here and then umbrella black American? Because it's about stealing. It's about taking, right? So they say we're divisive when we start talking like, no, it's not about being divisive. We have to do this because when we in these situations, ain't nobody trying to help us. So that brother that you talking about, if you heard Mr. Spencer, he had an accent. So maybe we weren't going to kill him, but they're going to send him back. You get what I'm saying? But so much about killing him, they're going to send him back. And think about that. A lot of the people that come here, they run, they ain't fighters like we fighters. They ain't cut like we cut. So we don't be talking about running all the damn time. We ain't running went from here to the continent, then went up to Europe, and then got to the Caribbean, and then came over here. We don't have those kind of stories. We either here or we gone. We don't be doing all that. Now those who now taking this flight and running over to the continent, they don't know what the hell they're running into. They really don't know what they're running into. They think it's all heaven and peaches and cream and all this fantasy dream. They got problems over there. Why else would they be here? You get what I'm saying? It's not me trying to cut off the continent. It's just that they always told you the grass is green. It looks green over there. The ice is sweeter. The air's, the ice is cold and the grass is greener and the air is sweeter over there until you get there and really find out the real game of the politics and everything going down. But you're going to get trapped over there. So when we over here doing what we doing, nobody want to do that. Now, some people going to leave. You don't want to hear that. I don't give a damn. Because, see, we don't have this kind of talk. Y'all come over here, like I said, doppelgangers, and you impersonate us, and then you come and try to position yourself in Joy Reid, this one here, and others, talking in these points like you us, but you really be shitting on us. You really be shitting on us. And so we just got to sit here and just like, oh, it's all, no. We in this time where we finna weed all that shit out. All that shit got to go. We can't keep letting y'all sitting here playing us, because see, when the shit get hot, y'all gonna run. We got nowhere to run. Even if you run to the continent, as things are starting to manifest, if you're looking at some of these other channels, you seeing some of our brothers and sisters that's over there, you seeing little things falling out. Think about this, how we look at it here. See, how we here and then we see other people who get to establish and build and we can't get nothing, then you do the same thing. When you go to the continent, you don't think it ain't going to be the same kind? That's game. It's not saying that we not connected, we not family, but we got a lot of problems that got to be ironed out. And a lot of this, we have the same, but we don't identify because other people feel like there's a video I'm going to end up doing talking about how these other people, when we talk about Italians, Irish, Chinese, when they weren't considered white folks, and the stuff that they was going through. Now, the sudden that you done got your entitlement to be white, you act like you done forgot. And so when you black and you want to still be in that, you can't shave off your color. All the cake soap won't help you. All the education you spew won't help you. Still gonna look black. So what you got to do is you got to sell out. You have to do that in order to be in the inclusion. You got to, pay your dues. And that's what we're seeing. Right? And so this one want to sit here and she's doing all this spewing. And you got a lot of our people who, we got to be honest. Some of us come from long lineage of motherfuckers who was house niggas. We just got to be honest about that shit. Some of us come from long line of house ass niggas and they taught you house nigga ass shit. And that's how your ass is. And in the secret compartments of your shit, you talk about niggas. That's what you do. You sit and you talk that shit about niggas on the sideline, but then you want to be the ones that we go to, the talented 10th ass shit. But they be the ones that be holding our head down extra hard too. They helping to hold our head down too. So the whole thing now is about, we got to weed all that out. See, that's what it's boiling down to. We got everybody who, remember John Henry Clark said, we ain't got no friends. We just got us. And so you got people here who are willing to do the assignment, to get certain shit, to be the doppelgangers, to get us out the way, and so that they can impersonate us. That's what's going on here. And so whatever agenda that's happening here, right? Whatever agenda that's here, that's what the game is. But nobody really want to say that. So they say, oh, you're divided. No. I've been around a little bit. I see what the game. That just most people ain't gonna be willing to say because they feel like you defriending people. No, they know what it is if they're gonna be honest. So anyway, let me just get back to her. But the point is, what you saying, Mr. Spencer and Sister Lady Soul, I heard that. I'm up on that. There's something else I would say, but I ain't gonna say it because this brother is gonna be a martyr. This brother, and it might be something the same what you talking about there, but that brother gonna be a martyr. He doing what he got to do, and he knows what he's doing and what the end result gonna be, because he's actually trying to throw a bomb in there. But again, you got to remember, we keep forgetting the origins and the makeup of what this is. This is what this is, man, and we can't keep thinking that politics is gonna save and that's not gonna do it. But anyway, let me finish this up. So with this Candace Owens thing. So she says she's talking to Tucker. And she's saying that the right way, she said what they are saying. She said fundamentally, we're fundamentally wrong and backwards about being black. Like, she's saying that the way our definition of what black is isn't what it is, and we're kind of racist in that. We in the origin of a nation of where our people been. How do you be a guest in my house? I let you stay in my house. You gonna tell me you don't like the way my living room look? You don't like the way my food in my refrigerator is? What you gonna do if somebody in your house like that? You gonna kick their ass out of there, right? But they know we can't kick them out. We don't have the power to determine to kick you out. So what you do is you side with the other person, knowing he has more of the power to determine. But we can't grumble and make noise that they hear. But what you do is you try to quell us down, and then they try to make it divisive. Oh, you guys, black on black, and we all the same, my brother. Really? Okay. But anyway, but that's what she's saying. She's trying to make it seem like we can't determine what black is, that we as BADOS in this land, who else gonna define it? The people who come in and trying to steal it? Is that what we're supposed to be doing? And so she says that the Democrats built this prototype, what it is to be black, because Joe Biden talking about something, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. Well, that was a white motherfucker saying that shit. Everybody keep trying to say that somehow we just all being Democrat. Let me say this for the facts. If we didn't start voting to 1968, 1968 is the beginning of black Americans voting in this country. 65 was when you got it, but the first election for president didn't come to 68. You didn't win in 68, right? Nixon was the damn Republican, correct? You didn't get a Democratic president till Jimmy Carter. Then after Jimmy Carter, you got Bill Clinton. Then you got Barack Obama. How the fuck does everybody keep trying to say we Democrats? And wait a minute, is it solely just we was the only one voting? What about white folks who was voting? That Democrat. What about them other folks who were voting? So why you keep trying to say that we stuck on Democrat? And matter of fact, why y'all always fighting to try to get our ass to vote if we always been voting? See, that's a lot of bullshit. And that's the way you get paid. You get paid on the simple fact of spewing this bullshit, talking about black people is programmed by Democrats. Well, you the only one talking about giving them something. I guess that would be it. And the way that we were coming out of, again, you gotta look at this. Generation X is the beginning of when you're talking about rights, right? So Generation X now is in their 50s, late 40s, mid 40s, early 50s, right? That is the beginning from 65 to where we are today. So if 65 today, they'd be about 55. So the beginning Gen X is 55. And then you go back down to like maybe 30, 38, 9, whatever. That's Gen X, right? And then you got the kids of Gen X. If not, some of them is part of the kids, depending on when they had children. You only got about maybe three less than four, not even four, two generations. We ain't been Democrats that damn long. But you keep spewing the fact that we Democrat. But wait a minute, lady. They both white groups. And you know what I'm saying? You trying to play this. That's how you know somebody ain't cut from us. You trying to make it seem like the difference between Republican and Democrat is really something different. Then I told you two wings on the same damn bird. Two different agendas trying to do the same ass shit. And you but you want to try to demonize us that they got us programmed. No, what got us programmed is because we've been here longer than anybody else who just got here. We've been working out what we've been going through. You can run. That's all y'all do. You run. You don't stand fight. You ain't got no history like we got. People that come here, they ain't got no damn history. You come here and know what you do. You be tying your ass. Oh, don't try. Now you want to cut me, right? You want to cut me now. That's right. You want to cut me now. That's right. You want to cut me now. Because you want to come y'all ass here and you want to tell us y'all ain't fought for nothing no damn where. We the only fighters that's been fighting the whole damn time. And then you come over grafting with us and then you talk shit about us. That shit got to stop. And especially when it come to her. Like, come on, man. What's that all about? But anyway, so you feel like that was somehow they programming us and said, well, what if Joe Biden would have said if you're not white if you don't vote? You ain't got to say that. Think about it. A white person don't have to say what don't need to be spoken. Didn't you see that the Attorney General Daniel Cameron had to say that he is not trying to be emotional or he's not trying to, be personal with it? Because he has to make sure that even though I am black, I don't know what he is though. I don't know if anybody really know what he is. But the point is, whatever he is, he has to make sure that he's not going to be solely for that. Remember, Kamala Harris? You want to do something for black people? No, right? I ain't trying to do for black people only. Barbara Walters had Barack Obama on the damn couch. Why did people say that you're a black president when you know you're a mulatto or mixed person? If they think that I'm black, what's wrong with them if they think I am black? What? See, everybody plays the game. Everybody plays the game. And then sit in our damn face like, you gonna try to read us our damn rights. Wait a minute, you ain't got no right. You have no right to speak on nothing about us unless you cut from the cloth. And then we have those that do be cut like that. We know how to deal with them. We know how to call them out. We know how to stamp them for what they are. But you don't even want to self-identify who you really are. You want to play and pretend. Oh, my grandfather is. What about your daddy and your mama? Don't tell me about your grandfather. What is you? Anyway, Enough of that, man. Because, see, I can go on there, and you see, they'll cut me. So when I start going there, they be going to cut. So I ain't going to go in no more on that. But the point is, she could get on that damn TV and keep saying these things and rhetoric about we and that how we don't understand and that we just on this Democratic plantation. This whole shit been a plantation. Ain't got to do about no damn party. Only people who seen the benefit is somebody who's not cut from us. You who come from somewhere else, as long as you ready to kiss and lick and bow down, they got a place for you. But because we want to get something that we know we entitled to, we are the troublemakers. We're the ones that the system is seen to have some kind of secret agenda that's doing all the shit that's going on. So take it for what y'all want to take it for. And again, this is the most hated show on the black corner of the internet. Can't believe I've been in the business since 2012 and I can't get 100 views. What am I saying over here that they don't want being heard? Ask yourself. And probably when I come back after the day, they're going to cut some more of the damn subscribers off again. But I ain't in it for that. You understand? I ain't here for that. I'm here to tell what it is. This is Black Minds News, and that's what we do over here. You take it or leave it alone. So again, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for being in the house. Lady Soul 502, Mr. Spencer 60620, and others who came by. I thank you for coming by. Listen to what Mr. Blow Your Mind had to say. And till my next show, y'all stay, get yourself prepared, man, because it's gonna get bumpy. Whatever this shit they finna do now, how this shit finna turn, y'all know what's finna happen. So everybody who talking all this, business building up, this shit they finna do, this inoculation shit. Don't think that ain't in the plan. Do not think that's not in the plan. It's in the plan. Because the whole thing was we start to get out of the bubble. We starting to get on code. We starting to unify. You can't put that genie back in the bottle. And so in order for you to do that, you need something that you think you can stealthily do. But in itself is going to be, people going to have to make a decision. Right? You're going to have to make a decision because they got that already planned up. And then when you start looking at who is the one that's giving this vaccine and trace it and do your history as to Allswitch and the companies it was, you see where it's going. Again, I'm the most hated show on the black corner of the internet. To the next show, y'all. Peace and love. To the next show, y'all. You know what I'm going to say? To the next show.